Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's May 13th City Council meeting. We do have a couple quick announcements before we do some proclamations. The agenda was updated this afternoon. It's available on the website. Two items, in case you're here for those items, two items were removed for consideration, and they will be placed on next meeting, May 28th. And that is the county appraiser who is going to be here this evening talking about appraisals. That will be delayed until the May 28th meeting. And then the public use request for Kobe's bike rally has been pulled from tonight's agenda and will be placed on that same meeting in May 28th. Also, I'm going to have you stand in a second for the national sorry about that, Pledge of Allegiance. Who can sing? Before we do that, I also want to mention right after we'll have a moment of silence for Law Enforcement Memorial Day. May 15th is the National Law Enforcement Memorial Day, and our Bonner Springs Police Department has not been immune from fallen officers, as we have lost two officers in the line of duty. Patrolman C. Leroy Damon, end of watch was August 23rd of 1922, and Officer Maureen Kelly Murphy, end of watch January 31st, 1986. Let's now take, if you'll stand with me, we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll take a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated now. We have a couple of proclamations this evening. The first one is for Emergency Medical Services Week. Would anybody like to come up? Chief? Staff? Chief, I'll let you go if you'd like to. Yeah, you're going to have to talk. You can introduce your staff, if you'd like. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Fantastic. I'm not prepared for this. No notes.
Someone could come over here, you know.
Way to go. All right, thank you, everyone. My name is Deputy Chief Chris Jennings, EMS Service Director for the city as well. Beside me is Dr. Allie Briggs. She's our medical director. And going down the line, we have a bunch of our EMTs, paramedics, and captains as well. This is EMS week, kind of a week for us to kind of reflect on some of the things that we're doing here in the city. We're pretty blessed to be in the city that we're in here, very supportive council and city where we get to serve this community. We have a pretty progressive group in terms of support on the medical side, in terms of support for services, and the funding that gets driven into us, allowing us to provide the services that we do at a pretty high level compared to what some other communities see across the nation. So thank you for that, both to the council and to the citizens of the community.
Thank you, Chief. And now we'll read a proclamation. Whereas emergency medical service is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the members of our emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating the Emergency Medical Services Week. And whereas this year, the 50th anniversary of EMS Week, the theme of EMS Week is honoring our past, foregoing our future. Now, therefore, I, Tom Stevens, Mayor of Bonner Springs, Kansas, do hereby recognize May 19th through the 25th of 2024 as Emergency Medical Services Week. I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities and to take the time to honor and thank our emergency services personnel for their work.
Meredith, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, who's coming up? Tatum, okay. You're not going to come up, Justine? Tatum, if you'd like to introduce yourself real quick.
Hi guys, I'm Tatum Bartels. I'm the recreation coordinator here for the city of Bonner.
And Tatum is going to be putting on an open house for tennis. That's one of the reasons we're doing this proclamation this evening. Whereas on May 21st, 1881, the United States National Lawn Tennis Association was founded in New York City, New York, to create rules and standards for the emerging game of lawn tennis. And whereas the USTA is the nonprofit national governing body for tennis in the United States and leads to the promotion and growth of the sport at every level of play, from beginners to professionals at the U.S. Open. And whereas the USTA proudly partners with local tennis programs to showcase the important health, social, and educational benefits of tennis and make the sport available to everyone, regardless of age, environment, condition, or ability, through its USTA adaptive grants. And whereas Bonner Springs Parks and Recreation has partnered with Tiblo Tennis to host a Try Tennis Free Day on Wednesday, May 29th, to encourage youth ages 5 to 14 to learn the basics of tennis. And whereas by increasing the accessibility of tennis for citizens of Bonner Springs of all ages and ability, the USTA has contributed to making our community happier and healthier. Now, therefore, I, Tom Stevens, Mayor of Bonner Springs, Kansas, do hereby recognize May 2024 as National Tennis Month and urge the citizens of Bonner Springs to become aware of and support National Tennis Month. And with that, we will continue on with our council meeting. The first item on here is citizens' concerns about items not on tonight's agenda. There's an opportunity for citizens to address the mayor and city council on the record in the open public meeting. Is there anybody who would like to address the council?
Hello, my name's Al Tweddle, and I live at 10556 South Hahn Street in Casa Grande, Arizona, 85193. This last week, I was attending two of the musical presentations at USD 204, and in my estimation, I have never heard a better high school band than was presented on Tuesday night. And I want to thank Preston Thomas and Kelly Irvin for their fine work with those musical groups from 6th grade through 12th grade. And also, Friday night, we went to the chorus. They have 4 chorus groups at Bonner Springs High School, USD 204. And Mrs. Ashley Greenlee directed a all-inclusive program with Mrs. Leslie Newland at the piano, and it was a fine, fine presentation and a good use of the kids' talents. And whoever came up with the idea of coming up with Mr. Thomas, or Mr. Thomas and Ms. Irwin and Mrs. Greenlee and Mrs. Newland, they've done a fine job in providing an educational opportunity in music for the kids in Bonner Springs. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to address the council this evening?
Yes, good evening. My name's Teresa Bolton, and I'm here on behalf of First Baptist Church in Bonner Springs, 227 Armour. I'm here to appeal the citation I received and also request that the $300 fine be waived and any other fines going forward. I've been maintaining and overseeing the church for the past 15 years as an overseer and trustee of the church. I've never ever received a letter, let alone a fine. Plans have been in place and steps have been taken to maintain the church. Obviously, it's been prioritized based on available funds. The letter I received Friday, the April 26th, was dated the 9th. The church is not in service for worship, but I do use it in place for people in need. It is operational. It's been inspected and utilities are on. I did contact Mark Stites, the codes enforcer, as soon as I received the letter. I didn't receive a call on the 29th or the 30th, but I spoke to him in person April the 30th and asked him to show me what the citation was for. He said the van and the overgrown brush in the back and the building itself missing shingles and paint. The citation also included a possible additional fine of $500 to take care of by the 30th. I don't feel this is hardly enough time to take care of everything that's needed, but as I work full-time and some of the workers I have work as well, but waiving the fees and additional fees would allow me to use that money for the necessary repairs. But please know the steps were already in place and other steps will be in more place with the adequate time, just to be fair for planning and just money. I do want to take the time to do that and put the money towards that rather than citations, in all fairness. And I just ask that you let me know what steps I need to take. I don't want to take more money and time. If I need to take other steps, let me know.
Is there anybody who'd like to ask a question? Ms. Bolton?
Teresa, you mentioned two things, at least so I can clarify these. You said that there were things in place that you were working towards or were going to work towards, the things that needed to be changed. But the letter that you received you didn't receive it within a certain amount of time that would have given you, in other words, it came late. Is that what I hear you saying?
Well, I received it late.
Okay.
I don't go over there very often. The mail I usually have to my P.O. box, but sometimes it goes directly there. But when I did receive it, it was past the appeal date, but I didn't feel that it should have been a citation. It's been a lot of rain, a lot of storms with the grass, but the grass has always been maintained. I did pay extra for someone to cut down the brush that he mentioned, because that was something that I wasn't aware of needed to be taken care of. Like I said, I've never received a letter before, but the roof and the shingles, they've been replaced last year. The church is 127 years old, so there's gonna be some things that, are gonna fall apart, but maintain the property is the thing that I do alone now. So I just recently lost my aunt, who was the only trustee besides myself. She was 98, so we don't have members that are actively in the church right now, so I have things there, people of need, no food, just other items that I'm maintaining right now until the church is up and going again.
Okay, and then you did mention, I want to make sure I understood it correctly, that asking to eliminate these fines so that those particular funds that you would have possibly have to pay could be used in place to do what needs to be done in excess of that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And then it was also stated in the appeal that another $500 would be charged, in the citation, that was part of the appeal, because if it's not taken care of by the 30th of May. The roofing, I got an estimate, it probably will need another roof at some point. Just this last storm and hail damage caused a lot of debris to come off. But just noticed one leak just recently, so I had someone come out and give me an estimate on the roof. It's probably gonna be costly, but it's about time maybe for another roof. It's probably been about 15 years
So
since it's
to help
been.
us understand, what are the priorities right now? The roof and,
The citation that I received was for the brush in the building itself, the paint, and I explained to Mr. Stice that the paint wasn't a priority because of the other things, but if that is something that needs to be taken care of, I'll have to get an estimate for that too.
okay, but you did say the brush has been, since
Yes.
this time, it has been taken care of, so that's.
Well, I wanted to make sure of what it was, because that's why Mr. Stites came out physically and showed me what he was talking about. I had pictures taken of the person that took care of that for me. I mow the lawn myself, so I don't have the proper tools to cut down trees. But a lot of the trees have always been in the back of the church. Never knew that was an issue. So there's some limbs that fall over from other properties onto the land that I've paid for to get cut because it falls into the church's property. So I don't know if, my understanding was that someone complained about it, but no one ever notified me.
I will,
No further questions at this point?
I will say this, is that I know Mr. Stites is usually extremely good about trying to work with individuals. I mean, he knows that penalties are the last things that we want to do. We just try to encourage people to fix things up. Fortunately, it sounds like there was a communication issue. You weren't receiving the notification. We can't take any action tonight on because of transparency, but if the council concurs, we can put it on the May 28th council agenda and have it as an actual item on the agenda, and potentially look at possibly appealing those. And I know you were past the appeal time, but I think, again, we're back to the issue with mail delivery and other issues.
Well, and that's, I still check the mailbox. The fine, though, is due by the 30th, the $300.
I'll give some staff input on that. Can that be defined, can it be delayed until we actually have this on the docket on the May 29th meeting? And then we can make a decision then on it. Does that work for you, Ms.
That
Bolden?
works for me?
Okay, does the rest of the council concur with that? Okay, so if Chris will put that on the docket for the May 28th meeting, we will have you show back up again, and
Okay,
there'll probably be more questions for you, so.
I'll have more stuff done too,
Okay.
hopefully. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Oh, hold on.
Okay,
Teresa?
yes.
Thank you. You said the building's operational, I think, at the beginning. And you don't have a congregation?
We don't have a
No,
congregation,
so I'm taking it you're probably using your own funds
my own funds.
to try to keep the upkeep of the building.
Yes.
So we have the Ministerial Alliance, but now it's Fellowship program that's in Bonner Springs.
Okay,
And one of the programs that we offer is called Bonner Builders. And I'd like for you to meet with me at it can be this evening, or I can shoot you an email.
okay.
And we
that'd
can
be
talk
fine.
about some of the things that needs to be done, so we can assist you.
Well, thank you.
In bringing you up to where we want Bonner to look beautiful and your church is included.
Yes, and it's building 1897.
No church?
Right, so I appreciate that, and I'm
More than
looking
welcome.
forward to it, so.
We'll see what we can do. and Try
Okay.
to help you the best we can.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Bolden. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you for your
We
time.
will see you in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Anybody else wish to speak to the council? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes of the April 22nd, 2024 City Council meeting and claims for city operations. Does anybody wish to have anything hold? Staff? Residents wish to have anything hold? Council? Seeing none, I would accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Reeves, a second by Ms. Woods. If the city clerk would go ahead and call the vote.
Gurley?
Yes.
Tip?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
That brings us on to new business.
Second McMahon?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, I apologize. I don't know why.
That's a yes?
Blanks?
Yes.
Okay, now you can go on. Thank you.
You took too long of a pause there, Ms. Bree. Now we'll move on to new business. Presentation and acceptance of the 2023 audit.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tilly LaPlante, Finance Director. Tonight we have Sean Gordon with Gordon CPA, and he will present the 2023 audit.
Good evening, everyone. As Tilly said, my name is Sean Gordon with Gordon CPA. I'll go through the 2023 audit report that you've seen in your agenda packets. We'll start with pages 1 through 3, excuse me. This is called the Independent Auditor's Report. Here we discuss a variety of things, including the opinion that we issued, the city's financial statements for 2023. We also discuss management and the council's responsibilities for the city's financial statements, and then a few more of our responsibilities as auditors. The most important paragraph here is the third paragraph down on page 1. You'll see an italicized heading called Unmodified Opinion on Regulatory Basis of Accounting. This paragraph says that the highest and cleanest opinion we could issue the city's financial statements for 2023, we did issue for 2023. So that reflects very well on the internal control and financial management of the city and its finances during that time period. Flipping forward to page 4, this is called the Summary Statement of Receipts, Expenditures, and Unencumbered Cash. Here you'll see in the left-hand column all of the different funds of the city, and then for each of those funds, beginning cash of those funds, receipts, expenditures, and then ending cash. You'll see at the very bottom of that right-hand column that the city reported $27.3 million of cash on hand as of 12/31/2023. The next section forward starts on page 5 and runs through page 12. And this section is called the Notes to the Financial Statements. Here we discuss a variety of things again, such as accounting policies that the city follows, involvement in the CAPERS and KP&F retirement program, information on cash and investments, long-term debt items. Like I said, many items discussed in this section. And then the next section forward, the big section, page 13 through 49, and these are just more detailed breakouts of those funds that we saw on page 4. In most of these sections, you'll see a comparison to the budget that was adopted for each of those funds as well. So you can see how a fund operated against the budget that was adopted for 2023. And then the final section starts on page 50 and runs to the end of the document, which is page 58. And that's called the Governmental Audit section. Anytime an entity receives and spends $750,000 or more of federal grant money, it's required to undergo what's called a single audit. For 2023, we focused on the grant that the city received for the water treatment plant from the state. And for this, we're also required to issue an opinion, and we issued an unmodified opinion, which again reflects very well on how the grant management process was during 2023, and that it met all federal and state requirements. The city met all federal and state requirements of the grant during that time period as well. Auditor's recommendations, we did not have any to communicate to the mayor and council for 2023. So again, that reflects very well on internal control, statutory and financial management by city staff. We had a good audit this year. Tilly and her team always do a good job of answering our questions and getting items that we need. Questions for me on the audit report or the audit process?
Anybody have any questions? I guess that's the end of the presentation.
Yes,
then.
thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, and I just want to take a few minutes just to how fortunate we are to have the staff we have. There's nothing more enjoyable coming back with the unmodified opinion and no difficulties working with staff, and especially when there's nothing even that you see that needs to be corrected. So, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And with that, I would accept a motion.
I make a motion to accept the 2023 audit.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Wood, a second by Mr. Shannon, and we'll start down there with you, Mr. Shannon. Anything else to add?
No question.
Mr. Kipp?
Good job, Tilly.
No questions. Thanks for your work, Tilly.
No questions, thank you.
Way to go, Tilly.
Okay, I guess we will then go ahead and have Ms. Brake record the vote.
Blinks? Yes. McMahon?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I think she was really happy about the audit.
And numbers in it.
And with that, we'll move on to the next item, which is a resolution to set a public hearing for the 120 on Oak Apartments Reinvestment Housing Incentive District. Staff?
Good evening, City Council. My name is Megan Gilliland, the Economic Development Coordinator for the city. Tonight, we have an item before you to set a public hearing date of June 17th at 7:30 to review the RHID district that is required as part of the 120 on Oak Apartments development, and you will also have the development agreement to review at that time as well. And that really kind of finalizes a lot of the work that we have to do to get that project moving. For anyone in the audience who doesn't know, this project is the former Thriftway building and the former Thriftway site, and this will be the site of 100 50 moderate income housing units and 50 market rate unit apartments as well. I stand for any questions, and our bond counsel is also here as well.
Staff have anything else to add? If not, is there any residents who would like to speak on this at all? Seeing none, I would accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution to set a public hearing for June 17th at 7:30 p.m. to establish the RHID to be known as the 120 on Oak Apartment Reinvestment Housing Incentive District.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Shannon, a second by Mr. Reeves. We'll start down there with you, Mr. Reeves.
No questions here.
No questions.
No questions.
Mr. McMahon?
With this next phase coming up, Megan, is this decisions that will derive from this will allow them to proceed with the development?
Yes. You'll have a development agreement for your review and action at the June 17th meeting.
Okay, very good. And, okay, and those, once they start, I guess once that's agreed on, then we will know exactly what fundings are in place, what our obligations will be at that point, as far
I
as.
believe that's all set out in the development agreement. Am I wrong on that?
Okay,
Yeah, you'll know, well, as you're aware, they received last August, I believe it was August, a $1.7 million Kansas Housing Resources Corporation grant,
Right.
which comes from the state. That doesn't have any city attachment to it whatsoever. It's a benefit to their project for building moderate income housing units. And then you'll also know what the city is willing to provide and any incentives moving forward and any other, foreseeable future analysis as well.
Thank you.
No question.
Will there be any more changes to this before the June 17th, or this is the final document?
You have why don't you address that? Because they don't have the dope.
Mayor and council, good evening. Tyler Ellsworth with Kutak Rock, the city's bond counsel. The development plan that's included in the packet should be the final version. We've worked closely with the development team to make sure that we all agree on those numbers, and we are in the process of finalizing the development agreement. But I don't anticipate any significant changes to the numbers that were in the version in the packet tonight.
All right, but if there is, it'll be an updated one for the next meeting?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I have nothing to add to it. Thank you, Megan and Tyler. We appreciate the input. If there's no other questions, then I will ask the clerk to call the vote.
Reeves?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Blanks? Yes. McMahon?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I'm very glad that we're seeing this finally maybe taking some steps forward, so. And with that, on to item number 3, acceptance of the final plat, FP 0224 for Sandstone Apartments. Staff?
Good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor. Mark Lee, Community Development Director. This evening, we are looking at the final plat for the Sandstone Townhomes, located on North 130th Street. Current address is 546, but it's been readdressed since then, but we won't see any until the buildings are actually occupied. There was a couple of lot number errors that were recommended to be changed by Planning Commission. Reached out to the preparer of the plat, and they realized it was an error in the computer program. Wasn't a big deal. Crossed them off, changed the numbers. Should be ready for submittal once we obtain our signatures.
Any other input from staff? Seeing none, is there anybody from the public wishes to speak on this item? Step up, name and address.
Tyler McMahon, 12720 New Jersey Court. I drive by the townhomes every day going to work, and I noticed they're already being built, correct? Before the plat? Okay, and last time we spoke, you said they would be available for rent, not market rate to be sold. Is that a finalized market rate rental? So, what company, I guess, is going to?
I've reached out to them a few times, and they don't have any kind of information really readily available yet, so it really hasn't gone out.
How much they'll cost per unit, et cetera? We don't have any of that? Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Anyone else wish to speak from the public? Seeing none, I would accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the yes. Accept the
Item 3.
dedication of easements and right-of-way as shown on the final plat.
Nope, item 3.
That is item 3.
That is
You're
item
right.
3.
You're good.
Oh, I apologize.
I'm
off.
confused enough, don't
I am
help.
too.
I'll make a motion to accept the dedication of easements and right-of-way as shown on the final plat of Sandstone Townhomes.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Gurley in a very confusing way, and a second by Ms. Blanks. We'll go ahead and start here with you, Mr. McMahon.
Just to follow up on Mr. Tyler McMahon's question about what the costs would be or the rent, there was some initial conversations, I think, generally speaking, it's like, hey, these are $1,200 or something. Does anybody recall like just a guesstimation of where those numbers were at, perhaps?
No, they were issued as market rate, and to be quite honest, that's not a concern of mine.
I got you.
From that standpoint, I don't, yeah.
From your perspective. I
Right.
got you. Yeah.
But
very
they did
good.
say they would be market rate, is what they said, but what that is, I mean,
It's okay.
I was gonna say the numbers of bedrooms and stuff that were going in each unit, but I'm not, because I can't recall off the top of my head, so I don't
Sure,
wanna
it can
make
vary.
anything up.
And the development is going, I'd say, well, for the most part, other than weather can be
Yeah.
problematic and stuff.
They've got 3 buildings up and going, as you've seen, and they've got, I think, pulled permits for 3 more.
Right.
And so they just keep chugging
Keep
right
moving.
along.
That's good.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anyone else is, but I'm getting a lot of questions about when they'll be done. Is there any kind of pie in the sky window?
Last quarter of this year is what the developer had told me.
Oh, that's
To
first
be
units
done.
being able to move
Mhm.
into.
The first units should be able to be moved into, I would think, fairly soon, as fast as they're moving on the insides, but I don't anticipate they want to get the entire thing done before they start renting units out, so I take it that's probably where they started, kind of where they did, so that they can get people in and still have construction traffic moving around.
Beautiful, thank you.
Ms. Mike?
I think Megan's already working on this. Megan and I both get calls all the time through the chamber and the city. And that's probably why Tyler's asking. It's like a big talk around town. So I guess just when you know, let us know.
I do have a contact.
Okay.
He did tell me that I could direct people to him.
Oh, okay.
But there's just nothing like out there that
There's
I
like
can
not
give
like
the
a
community, right? I've asked him
leasing
about a
office
website.
or-
I've asked him about any information that I can hand out to citizens or put out there, and that's about as far as I've got right now. So I can provide you or Megan or both with his contact information.
Okay. And it's specifically about leasing information, then they'll be able to share those numbers?
We should be able to.
Okay.
He's the owner.
Okay. I'll even call myself because I'm curious about what they are so I can answer the questions. Thank you.
Ms. Hall? No questions. I have just a couple real quick questions. I noticed on the meeting notes for the planning commission meeting, I noticed there was a couple of questions that were asked by the commissioners, but no responses. It looks like it just says Clark asked if there had been any problems with the developer. And then a second one was asked by Mesmer, who had questions about the pump station.
So the developer was not there at that meeting, so that was probably me just trying to provide them answers. The lift station is installed and ready, been tested, everything. All of the public infrastructure is installed, tested, and ready to be accepted.
And that's what he was referring to with the pump station?
Yep.
Okay.
Wanted to know if it had been done. But we're not gonna move towards acceptance probably until the project's done in case there is damage or anything
Okay.
like that. And the other question was?
Well, just that Clark asked if there had been any problems with the
Yeah,
developers.
okay. And no, there had not been. We've actually, I can't say that I've actually got one complaint.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? If not, we'll have the clerk record the vote.
Kip?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Blanks?
Yes.
McMahon?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Shirley? Yes. Did I get everybody?
Thank you, Mr. Lee, and I'm assuming you're staying up there because you're probably up with the next item.
Yes, sir, I am.
Which is item number 4, the final payment for the demolition and removal of the buildings at Nettleton and Metropolitan.
Excuse me. Mr. Mayor, Council, Mark Lee, Community Development Director. As you guys are aware of, this went through several processes over a multi-month, if not almost a year-long process, to get the structures condemned. We went out for bids, we received bids. The bid was awarded to Rimco in the amount of $28,810. As they were demoing the building, they fell into what was a hidden fuel tank. Had to have that tested and inspected to make sure there was no contamination and that nothing had come out. And through that process, that became an additional $5,300. The total payment for the contractor for the demolition and removal of the structures is $34,110. And And we are here this evening to have approval to issue that check.
Thank you. Staff, any additional input? Is there anybody, residents, that'd like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve payment to Remco for the demolition and removal of condemned structures at Nettleton and Metropolitan in the amount of $34,110.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Shannon, a second by Ms. Blanks. We'll go ahead and start here with you, Ms. Blanks. Any questions?
No questions. Thanks for your work on it.
Ms. Long?
Yeah, I've got a couple. First of all, that included the removal of the tank, is that correct? Okay. I thought that's the way I read it.
Yeah.
The other one is, the condition of the lot was in, I understood this was supposed to be more finished than it appears to be now.
It
They
was,
seeded it, and then the seed all washed away.
so after they had seeded it, there was some debris that was still left, and I contacted them to come out and remove a lot of the stuff that was left over that may have moved and washed away or moved some of the seed out of the site. I would have to go back and check it again, but they had seeded it.
Yeah, well, as steep as that is, it looks to me like they need to do something there to stake that so that the seed will stay in place or something. So I'm not happy with the way it looks yet, because I was under the impression when we started this, it was going to be quite a bit more finished looking than what it is. And then the other question would be, there's also broken up asphalt at the top that is not acceptable in anybody's estimation of what asphalt ought to look like. That needs to be gone also. I'm just saying what happened here, so I'm not real happy so far.
I mean, I guess it was a condemnation process. We didn't ask really for final grade and all that. We just asked, the contract, I don't think really specified what the appearance would be, but we can definitely ask them if they can add more. The site is mainly rock is what they told me, so they couldn't really do anything else with a lot of it because that whole backside and where the building was built into was actually just a rock ledge. The asphalt was just chunks. There was a little driveway up in the front. And yeah, I noticed some chunks of it when I did drive by today, but again, it was not, I guess, it's a twofold thing for me. One, we're not after a bunch of money from the property owner. And then two, we're gonna be on the hook for paying for it if we want it to be, a certain way, I guess. I understand for maintenance purposes and things like that, they graded it out smooth so that it could be mowed, and that was kind of where I went back to them and asked that some of the big stones and stuff like that also be removed so it could be mowed, which they did, but then that was 2 weeks ago and leads us to today. But I can go back to the contractor, but they will ask for more money, obviously.
I think it needs to be.
Mr. McMahon?
Thank you, Mark. The gentleman that owned the land when it was blighted still owns the land today. So the 34,000 is still, he's on the hook for, correct? And to Bob's credit, there's probably a little bit more he can do to kind of spruce things up, but we didn't hire that team to come in to, like you said, bring it up to a level 5, I suppose. Maybe Sean can answer, is the current landowner aware of what his responsibilities are, and is he paying attention and participating and willing to, right, pay, at least for the most part we're hoping for, this expense that has now landed on his plate?
That would be the hope. I believe he paid for the first invoice that we had to send him for asbestos inspections.
And this individual does have equipment, and he could do some landscaping if necessary, because he's already working on another property just down the street. Thanks, Mark.
Mark, I was gonna ask the same question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Jump in. So sorry. That about, isn't it his responsibility, the landowner's responsibility to make it nice and spruce it up and
I mean,
make it?
we
okay.
can
So
hold
not the
them-
contractors necessarily if we
can
didn't ask
hold
for
them to
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
No questions even asked.
I wasn't surprised to read about the fuel tank because the owner actually mentioned it at one of our council meetings, so I'm glad it was such a small amount of increase in cost.
Mark, I know, I believe I read someplace that the money that is owed on that has to be paid to the city within a specified time,
I mean, that.
30
that-
days, is that?
Yes, we will have to pay the contractor and then invoice the property owner.
For that, okay, but what is the property owner's contract time to
They'll
reimburse?
have 30 days as
30
well.
days from that.
I mean, we will, if this is approved, we will send an invoice to the property owner, give it as long as we can before we make our payment.
Well, okay, we'll keep it there. Thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead, Mr. Reeves.
We've condemned this property because of its blighted condition. And now, if we're done with it, it shouldn't be in a blighted condition, which I feel like it still is to some extent. Even though the buildings are gone, the property itself still remains with some faults to it that would leave Mr. Stites to come out and start writing tickets on it again. And I'm not certain that that's a good way to leave it for the property owner. I'm not trying to defend the property owner here, I'm just trying to state what I see our responsibilities are in this and looking out for that. So if there's something I'm not aware of, I'm sure willing to listen to it.
Just as a reminder that the condemnation proceedings were brought forward due to the risk of life and safety, so that's sort of the purview that these things fall under. As Mark mentioned, they did go back out and look at the area as far as some removal of boulders and rocks that were still there from the actual physical building. It was, as we all know, a stone building. I think the question that I'm hearing is that what happens to the additional asphalt, more or less? Because I don't think there's too much that can be added from a grading standpoint. If I'm understanding the contractor's position on that is it's rock. It was built into a side of rock, and any grading that would need to be done would be infill. That would have to be dirt coming in. So that's an additional cost beyond the scope of life and safety, I guess, would be the point there. But I think as far as the asphalt, I know there's the little apron that goes in there that was in front of the store is at, so.
There was a little parking area.
I don't know if that's,
Yeah, I can reach out
that's
to
the
him.
council's desire is to hold the check until that is rectified. We can certainly reach out to the contractor and let them know that was, if that was in fact part of the scope of work that they bid on. I don't know that off the top of my head, though.
The scope was removal and final grade really is what it got down to, but yeah. I mean, I can definitely, like I said, I can reach out to them and see what they say. They were more than willing to go back out and do a little bit more cleanup. Maybe they will be with this as well.
Well, I would think that just removal of that asphalt would be a big help because with the equipment he's got, that wouldn't take him very long at all because that asphalt's in bad shape as it is. That would be a help. I don't know, it probably wouldn't even cost us too much more if he decided to charge you a little bit more on that. But
Are you saying for the contractor that the city hired to go out and do that, or for the
Yes.
property owner? Sorry.
Contractor first.
Okay.
So at this point in time, we're kind of conflating a little bit. It's it was what was the contractor's job, which was to take that building down, get rid of that potential harm, and remove that substances. And as Mr. McMahon stated, it wasn't to have them come in and do a landscaping service and put hedges. It was, to get the building removed and reduce that risk to the public. So the question then becomes is, did the contractor fulfill what they were hired to do? Even though it'd be nice to have those additional incidents taking place, but that would be the key, is did they fulfill their contract?
Again, we can approach that. I don't know if you have an opinion on that now, Mark, or you want to take a look at what the contract states and talk with the contractor. This item could get tabled if you'd like, and we can bring it back at the next council meeting for consideration after we've had an opportunity to meet with the contractor to review the document. If that works for everybody. Again, I think we're just talking about one specific issue, which is the removal of the asphalt at the front of the property closest to Nettleton, right? But again, that's your guys'
If it's not included in the scope, will you just let us know how much it would be additional? If they're like, we'll come do it, but it's not included in the scope, here's how much.
Yeah, I'd also want to talk with our attorney to make sure that that's something
We're
that
allowed
we
to do that.
want to.
Yeah, because the issue there is if you haven't condemned the asphalt surface and you bring them in, now you're going to bill him for.
As Mark mentioned, this was about a building being removed. It wasn't, a sidewalk or something like that, so.
Question is, can we change the scope of the project after it's been
bid.
set
Done,
forth?
yeah.
And
I mean,
if we do, can we then reclaim those funds from the property owner?
Another way to look at it is the threat to life and safety been removed? Or is this an aesthetic land, as Mark had mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, it's contractor shall demolish structures, remove all debris, including trash limbs and undergrowth from general proximity structures, ensure trucks properly covered when hauling, foundation must be removed, and the area brought to appropriate grade, no wood or other material are to be pushed into the foundation. Entire area is to be seeded following completion, copies of the landfill tickets, I mean, that's kind of the basics. That's the specifications for the demolition is what the contractors get.
Okay, that's all well and good, but like I say, we still have a problem with the asphalt up there. If somebody wants to say something, if the property owner wants to say something, and we say, okay, you've got this asphalt that's still bad up there, well, you were supposed to take care of this stuff. It's still a deficiency in the property that could be looked at as a safety hazard because it's busted up asphalt. It's not in good condition.
And again, I can definitely reach out to them. That's all I can do, and all I can say, I guess, at this time is I can reach out to the contractor to see if they will come get rid of it.
I think
much else than that, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Peterson makes a good point, though. We probably need to talk to an attorney because if we increase the scope and the scope doesn't really cover why it was condemned in the first place, it could put us in a liable position. Yeah, we may remove the asphalt and we're going to be liable for that portion of the bill. So, I mean, we can have it if you want to. We can table it until the next meeting. We can then bring it back and put it on the docket, and hopefully a couple of those questions you have can be answered by then.
That would be fine with me. If I don't necessarily want to put the contract, this whole thing in a bind because we're late delivering a check or anything, but somehow I want this to be solved either between us and the contractor, or the city doing it itself, or that the property owner then is not going to have another ticket hitting right away because of this asphalt that's there. for some questions that somebody else might come up with that, say, well, you know, that property up there on the hill, it's got busted up asphalt, what are you hitting me for? Okay, that's just trying to look at it from a couple of angles here is all.
My take would be is if the asphalt was not part of the scope, correct?
Correct.
So if the contractor is willing to come out and do the asphalt for a price, that's fine. But should we hold up this payment because of that? If they've completed if they properly completed what their scope of work was.
And more specifically, have they completed the work for the life and safety side of this, for what you all condemned this site for was the building? Again, I don't know what the state of the asphalt was prior to, but again, I think we can get to with the contractor, visit with them, and see what the contract said, and whether or not this was something that fell under what they should have completed. If it was or wasn't, we can report back to you all. If you all want to table that this evening, we would just be back the next council meeting talking about this again, and have a determination on this piece of it one way or another.
And/or was the asphalt torn up more because of the demolition process?
And with that, is there anybody who's interested in having this item then tabled? Well, that's what I'm going to ask. If we have enough individuals who are interested in having it tabled, I'll ask an opinion from our clerk. Do we need to have the previous motion withdrawn, or can we table it with that motion on the table?
You can table it, I would say.
Oh, no, hold on.
We need to table this motion until our next meeting.
Hold on. Okay, so the previous motion would have to be withdrawn before we can ask for a motion for tabling. If would the person who made the motion, there's no motion, who made that?
I did.
Okay, would you be willing to?
Absolutely.
And who made the second?
Emily?
It was me.
And Ms. Blanks, are you interested in removing your second or not?
Is everybody wanting to table this, or do we want to vote and see what it turns out to be?
Well, once you vote, you vote. So tabling, there won't be any more discussion. If we have a motion, we'll vote to table it. If tabling motion put on the agenda is, motion is made to table it and it fails, then we would continue and another motion would then have to be made.
That's fine.
So we're willing to take your draw a second? Okay, so both motions, second been withdrawn. Did anybody want to make a motion to table it then?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to table this item until the next meeting.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Reeves, a second by Mr. Shannon. We'll ask the clerk, tabled motions cannot be any additional discussion, so I'll ask the clerk for the vote.
We're voting on a motion to table this item until May 28th council meeting. Gurley?
No.
Hip?
No.
Reeves?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Wood? Yes. Long?
No.
McMahon?
Yes.
Blanks?
No.
Mayor?
You guys are mean.
Vote on that one.
I think I already know what's going to happen, what's going to come back to us, so I'm going to vote no. So with that, then I would entertain another motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve payment to Remco for the demolition and removal of condemned structures at Nettleton and Metropolitan in the amount of $34,110.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Gurley and a second by Ms. Blanks. Any further discussion?
What's this motion now?
Okay, this is back, we're basically back to the original motion of making a motion to approve the payment.
That's what I thought. Jackie.
Any additional comment from anyone? If not, I would or ask the clerk to call the roll.
Voting on a motion to approve payment to Remco for the demolition and removal of the condemned structures at Nettleton and Metropolitan in the amount of $34,110. Wood?
Yes.
Reeves?
No.
Kip?
Yes.
McMahon?
Yes.
Blanks?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes?
Shannon?
No.
Long?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And with that, thank you, Mr. Lee. And if you would do that follow-up for us, staff would follow up, find out, one, legal advice on the asphalt, two, if it's legal and we can fall within that scope of our condemnation proceedings, then find out if the developer or the contractor would be willing to come back out for what kind of cost. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On to item number 5, purchase of a new Towmaster trailer. Staff?
Good evening, Council. Matt Beats, Deputy Director of Public Works. Currently in our fleet, we have a 1998 flatbed trailer, tandem axle. It was used originally many years ago for hauling, like when we had backhoes and those kinds of equipment around from site to site. It kind of sat for a while. Brakes had kind of seized up on it. So a couple years ago, we kind of went back through it. We actually had a couple new axles put in the trailer, painted it, fixed all the lighting in it, put a new deck down on it. Our staff was using it actually to go take their Class A test. It was the largest trailer we had, so it helped them pass their Class A's for their CDL. And then last year, we bought an excavator from a Kubota excavator, and our staff's been using it a lot to do a lot of right-of-way clearing. Unfortunately, that we have to use this trailer to haul the thing around, which we knew we were going to be really close on the weight. I believe our axles are 24,000 pounds, and the equipment's around 19. I'll get to it in a second. So we've been hauling that around for the last year now on this trailer. The only complaint I've ever had from our staff up until this recent one was that the ramps on the back were kind of steep, so when you're going up in this thing, you can't really see the trailer as you're tipping over. Kind of creates a little pucker effect. And they, may not be the best term, but that's what it does. And anyways, but we've managed to go along with it. A few months back, we started noticing that the bar, the connecting bar along the back that holds the ramps down, or the ramps flip up and down off of, had started to bend. And it was creating a problem with this excavator going up on it. So we took it in and had a bar replaced. We extended the ramps to make it reach fully down to the ground so it didn't have any kind of give to it when this piece of equipment pulls up on it. Anyways, got that fixed, and now we've started noticing that the actual trailer is kind of tweaking. So, needless to say, we're overloading this trailer. No matter what we've done to it at this point, we can't seem to make it any stiffer. So, we started looking for a possible replacement for the trailer. Initially, we found a trailer that was a little bit cheaper than this. However, it had like a 76-month delivery time, so over a year from now. Then we were going through Sourcewell to try to find the best trailer we could, and this trailer, this Towmaster, Casey Bobcat, it actually has a 36,000-pound axle set on it, so it'll be way more than enough for this piece of equipment. The ramp on the back is actually it breaks over so that it's like it doesn't give you the big tip point, and we can get it probably by July this year. That was another big thing for us. So we're coming to you tonight to actually asking you for to approve us to purchase this new trailer for this equipment.
Anything additional by staff?
Just the only thing to note is that this is coming before you because of some savings and another equipment purchase that occurred. So normally these things wouldn't come to you in this type of fashion because they've been planned out, but because there is an opportunity, as Matt just alluded to acquire this pretty quickly, which is not very common right now with 18-month lead times on different things. and because of some of the frugal nature of the department as far as what they've been able to do with another acquisition. So just want to point that out.
Is any of our residents would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I would accept a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Reeves, a second by Mr. McMahon, and we'll go ahead and start down there with you, Mr. Shannon. Yep.
Matt, thanks for all you do. Equipment is important. We don't need any puckering up going forward, so tongue in cheek. Right, safe, you need safe equipment out on the roads, right, especially as representing the city, so. Looks like you got a good deal on a trailer too, and Sean being able to make the funds work, so kudos for that as well. Thanks.
Ms. Mikes?
No questions. Thanks, Matt.
Ms. Long?
No questions, thank you.
Thanks for trying to at least fix the older trailer and
We
make
tried.
it work for a while. We appreciate that kind of help also.
And just like my doctor says, you can't, there's certain things on things that are old you can't fix, so. If there's no other questions, comments, I will have the clerk record the vote.
Long,
Yes.
McMahon,
Yes.
Blanks,
Yes.
Reeves,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Gurley,
Yes.
Hip,
Yes.
motion passes.
On to item number 6, ordinance to amend the local traffic regulations to restrict parking on certain street. I guess that's you, Mr. Beats, again?
Yeah, it sure is. Public Works received a complaint from a resident about some vehicles being parked along the north side of Highview. We visited the site and noticed that currently there is not a no parking. Parking is allowed currently on both sides of just this block of Highview. This is between Nakoni and North Park. Between like Nuttleton all the way down to Nakoni, no parking on, I believe it was the north side. Likewise, between North Park and down to the dead end, there's an area down there on the side, no parking is allowed. But for some reason, this block doesn't seem to have any. The resident's having problem, or the reason why the call was is that the resident was having problems getting in and out of their driveway. People were parking on both sides right there at the edge. So we looked back to the ordinance, a little bit shocked that it wasn't actually allowed, reached out to the PD, and we actually visited the site with the police department. At about that same time, they had mentioned that they had some other sites as well that they were having some issues with. And with parking, on-street parking, made me think about it, or talk to my staff, and we actually run into this quite frequently when we're out plowing, where we have certain streets, in this instance, Castle Drive, we can't get a truck up there to plow it. Cars parked on both sides in the cul-de-sac, jam-packed full of cars, we can't get it up and turned around in a plow truck. So we kind of pulled all of our resources together, or all of our lists together, and that's what you're seeing here tonight, is this list of, between the police department, public works, and the residents' concern on Highview. So we're asking basically to adopt an ordinance amendment and to the traffic control regulation code.
Any additional input from staff? Is there anybody, the residents, who would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I would accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Bonner Springs Local Traffic Control Regulations Code, Section 14-201, to add parking restrictions as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Gurley and a second by Mr. Shannon, and we'll start down there with you, Mr. Reeves.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Can we give the residents, when the signs go up, some warnings or whatever for a few days?
Yeah.
I'm curious, I was looking at the pictures of the different streets that are there. It says North Nettleton, but I'm not recognizing like what buildings those are and where is that?
That is actually the section of Nettleton behind the Walmart building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, currently what we have,
Not, okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
What we run into a problem there is there's overnight semi-trucks that seem to park back there, and they don't know when to stop. They keep knocking over the end of road signs at the end, so.
That makes sense. Thank you. I was like, where is it?
Ms. Blanks?
No questions, just like Bob said, like door hangers or something, when you guys put those up.
McMahon?
Lot of cars. Lot of cars, right, Matt? I'm looking at Castle. So I used to live over by the high school. And so what we want to do is get it to where they're only on one side, right, instead of both sides, because it's a cul-de-sac, right? Go up, turn around. So it, right or left, they'll still have permission to park on one side or the other,
Yeah,
correct?
what the plan would be is to eliminate the parking on the east side, so going up the hill on your right-hand side.
Okay, so, if, you just don't start getting rid of cars, right? And it's like these are high school students and they're all, eating up parking spaces and stuff. This is what it's gonna look like downtown at some point in time, by the way. But at any rate, if we go to one side, that's fine. I think just for safety issues, right? First responders and all that. I'm good with that. I will say back behind Walmart, that's interesting. 'Cause there's not a lot of traffic back there per se. Is it gonna be no parking on both sides or just kind of keep that opened up?
Correct, yeah, it'd be no parking on both sides.
Right, okay. All right. So one of these days, that road's gonna go through. That's it, Matt, thank you.
Ms. Woods? You're early.
Do you have some of these signs on hand, or do you need to order those? What kind of a lead time are we looking at first?
We should have most of them on hand right now, to be honest. If we're a little short, then it's no more than a couple weeks usually, so.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Matt. And I appreciate the question that was, or the statement made by Ms. Long, because I have the same way. I looked at that picture a few times before I finally figured out where it was at. It took a little while, because we don't think of that piece of Nettleton. I also like the idea from Mr. Reeves. I had thought about the same things about giving 30 days of warning, tickets, no actual warning, actual fines until, giving them a chance to accustom, get acclimated to it. It did bring up one.
I just want to validate. Chris, can you tell me what is the effective date of the ordinance? Is it upon passage or 30 days after publication? I think okay. Okay. I do just want to make sure that we are doing as what has been discussed, which is ensuring that the residents that are going to be impacted with this are well aware of this prior to it going into place. So heeding that advice, I'm just trying to think of a good way of ensuring that, again, at least in the residential area, folks are aware that this is going to be a change that's going to happen, much as Mr. McMahon mentioned, the cars aren't going to go away.
We can amend that resolution to say that it's effective 30 days after publication.
Yeah.
If that would give everybody enough time.
I think that would be prudent to just.
Will the signs be up prior to that? Okay, so they'll have that little bit of a window.
Right, that way if there is anybody that is concerned about that there's adequate time to come back and have any discussion with council or hopefully with staff prior to. But again, these recommendations are based off of public safety needs in those areas, as well as beyond just the obvious with police and fire, and but also snow removal. So there is a method to the madness. I just want to again make sure that the public has adequate time to understand why that's happening. If there is concerns, they could bring that forward as well.
Then I had one more question. When I went down, because I view was the original driver of this, so out of curiosity, I went down there and noticed that it's, I wondered if a lot of the cars potentially were because of the two public housing buildings there. So I went down, it's one of the few places in town we do have alleyways, and they do have parking behind it, but I can see why somebody probably doesn't want to traverse down through that alleyway to park back there. Where is and I asked our city clerk today, and she tried to give me a little information on it, but who is responsible for maintaining those alleyways? Is that on the individual homeowners, or is that on the city?
I don't know who's overall responsible for it. Public Works does try to take care of them. We will go out and try to spread millings when we have them into the alleyways. Likewise, if there's tree branches or something that are out that we can cut out, we'll do that. It's not on the top of our priority list usually. We're focusing more on a lot of the streets, but we get a few calls every once in a while from someone that lives on an alley, and they'll bring it up, and we'll go out and try to take care of some potholes or something in them.
Gotcha, okay. Now, I know that where their parking areas are at, that's their responsibility, that's private property. Mainly it was the alleyway itself, so getting to those spots, so. Okay, that was the question I had, is who's responsible for those? Is there any other questions, comments from anyone?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like
Yes.
to amend my motion to make the effective date 30 days from approval. Is that correct?
So the motion will be to adopt an ordinance as amended to update the City of Bonner Springs Local Traffic Control Regulations Code to add parking restrictions.
Make a motion to adopt an ordinance as amended.
Or we can do the same ordinance instead of where it says as presented, we could say as amended.
So I will amend my motion to read, make a motion to adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Bonner Springs Local Traffic Control Regulations Code, Section 14-201, to add parking restrictions as amended.
Second.
Who made the original second on that then? Did you? Okay, you were. Okay. Would you like to read that motion back at all, just to make sure we got it?
Voting on a motion to adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Bonner Springs Local Traffic Control Regulations Code to add parking restrictions as amended.
Yes.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, vote please.
Kip?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Blanks? Yes. McMahon?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Reeds, appreciate it. On to item number 7, resolution to establish a standard order of business at council meetings. Staff?
Chris Brake, City Clerk. Sorry, I've got too many screens here. At the last council meeting, a resident came forward and asked to have put into resolution to have the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation at every meeting. After talking with the league, they do recommend that we have a standard order of business that the council approves. The resolution to implement that standard order of business is attached to the agenda. Two things that I'd like to draw attention to. Executive sessions are not included in that because they can be placed anywhere within that. The order of business, if approved, can be changed by the city manager or designee at any meeting. It also can be suspended or amended as per the policy of the league by a majority vote of the council. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody from residents would like to comment on this? You step forward.